It's a mailbag show, baby. As promised, I am going to answer all of your questions today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Monday, January 23rd, 2023. 23 there. Thank you for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. Okay, we are back, baby. How you like that, FanDuel? How you like it? We're back, though. We are going to be answering mailbag questions, and we really have to get into it. We got a great response. We got a lot of questions. I'm going to try to get through all of them in half an hour. It won't happen. I won't be done in less than 30. But if I can be done between like 32 to 35, I'll consider it a victory. And we really have to jump right into it to make that happen. Okay, cool. Everybody good? Have a great start to your week. How about that? All right. Let's start it off with Jones McJones. It's really cool seeing the response because there are some people that I see that aren't usually interactive, and that's super cool because I get to see more whatever names to faces, name to profiles, whatever. And then there are some people that are just like super interactive and love to comment and reply to stuff all the time, and it's cool to see them in there as well. So I appreciate all of you, no matter if you're kind of watching in the shadows or commenting often. I appreciate it. So Jones McJones. Mailbag question: who is the opening day starter and cleanup hitter for the Tigers in 2024? The Tigers should be at least competitive in 2024. Skubal and Torkelson are safe answers, but you never know if we are going out and spend money after this season. Yeah, it's pretty much impossible to predict what's going to happen next offseason. Also, the free agent class is not like anything unbelievable. There's definitely some talent there, but it's not. It doesn't have like the high end of this past offseason. Um, also, cleanup hitter doesn't hold the same like weight that it used to. Like people just construct lineups so much differently. Most people honestly put like their best hitter in the 2 spot. That's like a common thing these days. That's why you see the Angels. They always have their 1 and 2 in their lineup is always Otani and Trout. So I would say that if I was just doing best pitcher and best hitter on the team, opening day starter, I think Skubal is the safest answer. I think that is definitely the safest answer. As far as like best hitter in the top part of the lineup, I would probably go Riley Green. Yeah, I would go Riley Green over Torkelson, and I've kind of maintained that consistently throughout both of their professional careers. I think Riley Green is different. I really think he's going to be something special. Let's go to Kendrick Smalligan. If I mispronounce any names, obviously know that there's no ill will. I'm terrible. It takes me a long time to get used to saying people's names correctly in just the real world. So this is no different. Kendrick asks, how happy are you to see Arias gone from the division and the trade to Miami? It seems like he was always right in the center of those crazy implosions at Target Field and as a Tiger killer. Yeah, look, like sure. I mean, I'm fine with it. Yes, you're right. He definitely is kind of in that category of Tiger killer. That trade fascinates me. I could riff for a whole half an hour just on how fascinating I think that trade is. Miami is trying to do actually Locked On Marlins. The quote from Locked On Marlins was death by a million paper cuts is like the attempt of their lineup. And I think that's fairly accurate. Like this is going to be a team that just is a bunch of contact hitters in a league where that's not really a thing anymore. And they have such a good pitching rotation that they're probably going to play in a lot of close, low scoring games. And that Soler is going to be there, but besides that, they don't really have any like huge power threats, and so they're just going to try to hit the ball over the field and kind of take you down slowly. So I'm pretty fascinated with that. As far as Minnesota goes, yes, Arias not being in the division anymore is obviously somewhat of a celebration, but Pablo Lopez is a dog. We'll talk about my opinion of the Twins on a later show. Tony Chasey says, Scott, I love the show. I never miss an episode. I appreciate you so much, Tony. Thank you for the kind words. I have a mailbag question for you. He says, as we all know, the Tigers were destroyed by injuries to the pitching staff the last couple of seasons, 2022 for sure. I won't read the entire thing because it's a pretty long question, but in essence, it is there something Feder is doing that might be causing a spike of injuries with the pitchers? He does specify, I'm not arguing that. That is an exact word. He says, before anyone bites my head off, I'm not saying Feder is causing all these injuries single-handedly. He's just implying, since Feder got here, there's been a lot of pitching injuries. That's objectively true. I don't think there's that much of a correlation. I really don't. And that's kind of I think I'm right there, but I understand that can be somewhat subjective. My rebuttal to the whole thing, the biggest thing I will say is that the Tigers brought in Robin Lund, who is going to be an assistant pitching coach. He was a pitching coach at Iowa. He is a professor in biomechanics, like literally a professor. And so I think that they are going to try to use him to combat those pitching injuries. And again, I don't think that it's a correlation to Feder. I don't. Feder, I think, is one of the best in the world at his job. But I do think that they're adding in more reinforcements to help, like, hey, how can we attack this from all angles? How can we have you be a better pitcher? Because Feder objectively has done that to pretty much everyone he's touched. And keep you healthy. And I think that the addition of Lund will kind of is going to be their attempt of trying to do both of those things, kill two birds with one stone. Virgil Green says, do we have a pitcher or pitching mix to get Verdugo? I believe the Red Sox view him as tradable. So I would imagine that we could if we really wanted to. I don't think that the value really makes sense for the Tigers. This is Verdugo. I don't mind Doogie, but last season he had a 550 OPS against left-handed starting pitchers, and he's another lefty outfielder. And I just feel like this team is just so full of left-handed. If he was a righty, I think it'd be a lot more of a conversation. I also think that they are now in a position where they're going to platoon their outfield, and I think that they want to keep him and see that through. I think that they have some dudes that really hit well against righties in the outfield, and especially after some recent signings. And then, Doogie's going to hit against righties, and the new signings are going to hit against lefties. So I think that that's probably the game plan, and I don't know if the fit is really there for Detroit. Cameron asks on Twitter at DET Baseball, heck of a follow, by the way. Says, hypothetically in spring training, if Tyler Nevin had a 900 OPS and Spencer Torkelson had a 700 OPS, what one do you want as your opening day first baseman? The answer here is still Torkelson. And look, I am all for overreacting spring training. But I don't think it would have to be significantly larger than even a 200 OPS difference in spring ball to, I think, change some people's opinions on that. And 700, while it's not where you want it, it's not like, oh my goodness, he can't hit, right? I think you'd have to be talking about Nevin pushing 900 or 1,000 OPS and Torkelson just looking completely lost and having a 500 OPS in spring for that conversation to even really start. I don't think the difference between 900 and 700 is going to be hey, we should, start this utility guy over Spencer Torkelson. But, there's actually a question later about what is going to happen if Torkelson struggles again. So we'll kind of rehash this conversation then. But if those OPSs are the numbers, I think it's still pretty comfortably Torque. Okay, let's get to our first ad break. And then on the other side, we will continue answering your questions. First, though, I got to tell y'all about FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are here. We're really excited about our new sports betting sponsor for Locked On because they're the #1 sports book in America. It's FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features to make betting on sports fun and easy. New customers, you can join today and get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up at fanduel.com/lockedon. FanDuel has all of your favorite bets, money line, point spreads, player props, etc. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. They are absolutely awesome. There's some, NFL playoffs, like it said. Honestly, baseball season right around the corner. Got some fun bets there. It's time to join FanDuel. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. So, football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet and get $150 in free bets, win or lose, at fanduel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, everybody. Welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for your responses. These shows are a blast for me because I love interacting with y'all and talking about y'all's questions and stuff. So I enjoy mailbags a lot. We'll probably have another one before the season starts. It won't be soon because we're just doing this one, but maybe like around spring training starts, or maybe even closer to opening day. Maybe like last mailbag before the season starts type of thing. Maybe we'll figure it out. Regardless, let's get back into it here. Garrett asks, is the amount of games won by the Boyd, Hess, Vest, Lang combo more or less than 25 games? I'm feeling more. Garrett is notably a huge fan of Matthew Boyd and Zach Hess. Well, all four of these guys, honestly. Zach Hess is not making the majors this year, unfortunately. That's just not going to happen. We'll see how much longer he's with the organization. As far as Boyd and the other three go, look, I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised by Matthew Boyd. I'm not saying that he's like turned a quarter and going to be some incredible pitcher or anything, but like top end, ace on a playoff team type of pitcher. But I think that he has made adjustments. I'm interested and excited to see them on the mound. And, it's really, I think the biggest thing for Boyd is just going to be in the second half of the season. Can he hold up? Right. We've seen time and time again, the path of a Matthew Boyd season is really hot start. And then as the season goes along, it just slowly kind of trickles down. And so I think he's a competitive dude. He wants to last the full season. And I think that'll be the biggest storyline to watch with him. Roberto Campo season on Twitter. Another dude that interacts with a lot of my stuff that I'm appreciative of. Which player/players do you see having a bounce back year? Which player do you think will surprise us the most? As far as I guess kind of both in the same breath, Austin Meadows just seems to be someone that people either significantly disrespect or just forget is really good. Like last year was brutal, obviously, and that is something that can't happen again. But at full health, which he's been for almost all of his career before last season, this is a dude that at one point was one of the better hitters in the entire American League. And he's still young and still has team control, and this is a dog. And so I think I don't know. It won't surprise me if he's good, but I think the fan base just needs to be reminded of how good Austin Meadows can be when he's fully healthy and on the field. So I guess that would be the easy answer. As far as a little bit more of a off the board answer, I think seriously we should start. Well, I say we should start. I think people are going to realize the value of the three players they got back in the Gregory Soto trade. I really like that trade more and more as time goes on. I liked it when it happened. I think that, and again, I'm not saying all three of these dudes are going to be all stars or 3 or 4 win players or anything, but they don't need to be for that to be an absolute beautiful trade for the Tigers. And I'm really excited for Vierling. I'm really excited for Maton. And I think the one that people are sleeping on the most is Donnie Sands, the catcher. I said it before, in shows last week, I think this dude has a legitimate chance to get solid amount of ABs at the major league level this year. I don't think Rodgers is going to be on a super long leash. We'll see how he looks in spring. And Sands has hit every level he's been at and is a good pitch framer, and he draws a lot of walks. Like I don't know, man. Like I'm not saying he's like going into camp is going to be the favorite to be the backup catcher, but it really would not surprise me if after game 162 we were looking back and Donnie Sands had like 85 to 100 like appearances in the season. It really wouldn't at all. So that's maybe my kind of off the board answer. Next up we have at Torque RBW. What are your thoughts on the Tigers farm system at the moment, and who do you think the 5 best prospects in the organization are? I love this question. This was obviously a very hot topic if you're on Twitter. This was a very hot topic last week. So everybody was arguing about how much prospect lists matter and where the current Tigers farm system is and whatnot. I think that my overall thoughts on this organization are that this farm system is better than people realize and better than the national media is giving it credit for. And I think a lot of that has to do with the development that's in place now, not necessarily like, oh, look, this draft that we thought sucked is actually great. Like there haven't been really any of those, but the development, especially on the offense, well, really on both sides of the ball, honestly. I'm not even going to single out each side. Overall, just the development in the organization at the minor league levels is just appears to be way better than it has been maybe in my entire life. Like we'll see. I don't want to get too dramatic with it, but it looks like it's taken huge strides in the right direction. So I do think that it's a little bit better than like there are some publications that have the Tigers at like in the bottom 5 or 7 farm systems in all of baseball. And I don't know if I agree with that, even though I also very much realize that it's not like a perennial, like top 5, probably even top 10 farm in the sport either. As far as I don't want to know. I don't know about best because like then we're going to get into like prospect lists category. And I don't really like fully believe in prospect lists. I think the difference between like the 40th ranked prospect and the 140th is like not nearly as much as people realize. Like you have your perennial like top end, like, top 10 prospects in baseball or whatever. And then after that, it really is just a lot of I don't want to say guessing because people dedicate their lives to it. But it's a lot of splitting hairs, I guess I'll say. Like you're really trying to like be super nitpicky about it. My 5 favorite prospects in the organization, though, Colt Keith. I think people are really starting to realize how good he is, and I'm really excited for him to get more and more marketing. That's not what I'm trying to say. Exposure. That's the phrase. Jackson Joe, spinny ball is fun. Can't wait to see him continue to develop. Wilmer Flores, really easy one of the biggest stories in the organization last year. Isaac Pacheco, I think, is kind of a slept-on prospect. One had a phenomenal season last year. Probably profiles more as a third baseman than he was originally brought in as a shortstop. But I think he's going to take huge steps this season in the minors as well. And then Christian Santana, to be honest with you, the biggest international signing fee in the history of the Detroit Tigers. And he's really patient. He has a good glove. The power is slowly starting to come along. He's still a few years away, but I'm very excited about Christian Santana. And then like Justin Henry Malloy is really fun. I don't know if I really count him as a true prospect because I think he's going to play ball this year at the major league level. But and like we didn't develop him, but like definitely someone I'm super excited about. And then Jace Young is somebody, maybe excitement's not the right word, but somebody I definitely have my eyes on this year because first round pick, didn't do that well as a pro last year. We'll see what adjustments he makes this year. Okay, next up we have at Tigers English D on Twitter. Apart from the obvious, which is fielding a more competitive team, what are some things the Detroit Tigers can do to keep fans engaged, which they are not currently doing? For me, I think they should embrace what they're doing and embrace where they're at. They should market the fact that there is going to be competitions all over the diamond. You don't have to. People just want to be told the truth, dog. Like people don't want you to go out there. Like you're only going to make more people upset if you go out there and you're like, oh, like going to take a huge step forward this year, right? Like last year, the rebuild's over. And like you say all this stuff and like people are only going to get more upset if you just pretend like we're not bad again. And I don't think this team is nearly as bad as some people. I think some people are being really dramatic. Like, this is not a like guaranteed 100+ loss team or something like that. Like, everything went wrong last year, and their loss total was in the mid 90s. Like, and some players just won't be as bad as last year. Like, they won't. Like, it's not going to be some unwatchable dumpster fire. And so I think they should really market the fact and hone in on the fact and embrace the fact that they're going to have 5 different people play third base this year, and it's a competition to see who wants to take the reins as third baseman of the future of the Detroit Tigers. And like, they should like talk about the fact that they have a ton of different outfielders, and like they have a ton of players that play multiple positions, and you're not going to see the same lineup twice. That's fun. That's like fun to watch. In-house competition is fun. People like young prospects you haven't seen play before is fun. Players from other organizations that you're bringing in and playing in front of, like in an Old English D for the first time, is fun. Like, embrace the fact, market the fact that this is going to be the year of competition at like 6 different positions. Embrace it and market it and get people starting the discussion. You're going to start so many arguments online, and you're going to be like clickbaity about, you know what I mean? Like, people are going to want to talk about, the Tigers third base competition and stuff. Like, embrace that. That's what I think that they should do. And I think that's really the only thing that's like somewhat intelligent to do going into the season. Just don't turn a blind eye to it and do what you always do and just be like, oh, like, are we going to be like Detroit versus everybody? Are we going to be the underdog team? Like, just embrace where you're at. People just want to be told the truth, man. Okay. Let's finish up here. And yeah, we'll do that right on the other side of this. All right, everybody, welcome back. Third and final segment here at Locked On Tigers. Let's finish up here. Yeah, let's just get right back into it. Third and final segment here. Locked On Tigers. Bucky on Twitter asks, at what point do you trade Mize Manning Scooble? Mize doesn't have much value right now. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I don't think he's pitching this year. And next year, when he comes back, he will be 27 years old, I'm pretty sure. It'll be his age 27 year at least. And he will have not even come close to pitching a full season, like without any innings restrictions or anything. And like, he's had injury problems. Really, I mean, you all remember, like, when we drafted him, there was like concerns about the arm, and then he got shut down after he threw the no-hitter in Double-A, and like, you know what I mean? Like, he's always kind of had those speculations, I guess we'll call them. And that this isn't me like giving up on Mize or saying that he's not going to be good, but like, as far as trade value goes, I don't think he's really going to have any. Like, he would have to pitch a full season under his belt and be like, show signs of progress for him to really have any value. So I don't think there's really a conversation there. Manning, we talked about on Friday's show. He's like my super dark horse to get moved. I still don't think it's going to happen, but if there's a team out there that goes, you know what, we need to prioritize pitching. We have I don't want to say failed, but like a hitting prospect that hasn't been as good as we initially thought, or hasn't reached their ceiling. So we're going to trade them to you, and you give us Manning, who has kind of been similar-ish. Like, he's still very young and has a lot of control, and he's had his own injury problems as well. So we'll see what happens with him. But I think that like a 1-for-1 swap of Manning for like a equal situational hitting prospect is somewhat possible. Not likely, though. And then Scooble, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just going to kick the can down the road in this one because I don't want to have the conversation right now. I think when Tarek Skubal is healthy again, that is absolutely a conversation. And it's one that is unavoidable, and one that we are going to have on this show probably sometime in the next 8 to 12 months, because I agree with that. I'm not saying I agree right now that we should absolutely trade him. I just agree that that is at least a conversation. And again, when he's hurt, doesn't have any value. But I absolutely think that that's going to be a conversation that's going to rear its ugly head when he's healthy again, and we're going to have to discuss on the show at some point. So probably a next off-season conversation, though. Probably a year too early on that one being anything serious. Jacob on Twitter says predict the Tigers opening day bullpen. So this is always a fascinating conversation, the bullpen one, because I do think that the bottom of the pen is going to be somewhat of a revolving door. Like I think that I think we're gonna have 10 to or maybe 12 to 15 pitchers out of the bullpen at some point this year. I think they really are gonna get a lot of people opportunities again, similar to like third base and some other positions. On opening day, I'll go with Lang, Foley, Vest, Alexander, Cisnero. Those are probably the locks. And then Englert, we'll assume he makes the team out of camp, the Rule 5 pick. I like Streve, so I'll go with him. Minor league signing from a couple of weeks ago. And then I think the last one is one of the four starters, like one of the four. We always talk about the four that we all kind of lump in together: Brisky, Faedo, Hill, and Wentz. I think one of those four. And Joey Wentz might get the nod just because he's a lefty. Now Streve is a lefty as well, but I don't know. That'll be Brisky. I really like Brisky too. I don't know, but I think one of those four will probably be the other one as well. The next one actually perfectly plays off that. This is from Brian, another guy who's super interactive that I'm very appreciative of. Which of our four young six starters do you foresee getting sent to the bullpen, and which will go to Toledo? That's out of Hill, Brisky, Fido, and Wentz. Bonus question: which joins the rotation if Erods get dealt? I think a lot of this comes down to spring, which is like not trying to like cop out, but I do think that at least three of the four, the three being Brisky, Faedo, and Wentz, I think they all view them as pretty similar, and Hill maybe just like half a step below as far as like where they are currently. So I do think that spring training will mean a lot for those guys. And I also think that long-term plans come into effect. With the amount of starting pitching depth we have, and with the experience Garrett Hill got out of the pen last year, they might just go, you know what? We don't think Hill is on the caliber of these other three guys or the other five starters we already have. So let's just get him legitimately looked at in the pen. Could be a multiple inning reliever type of thing. Wentz, the fact that he's a lefty, and that the only guaranteed lefty we have in the entire bullpen right now on opening day is Tyler Alexander. Certainly helps the argument for him going into the bullpen. Brisky, I think they want to try as a starter. And so I think if he is in the bullpen, it's as like the swing man type of thing. Like maybe we'll be, as you pointed out in your question, like a six starter. Not that they're necessarily going to go to a six-man rotation, but like maybe you have the depth to do it if you really wanted to. But maybe that swing man, if somebody needs a start skipped, you go to Brisky type of thing. That could be good. And then, Faedo proved everyone wrong last year. I think a lot of people just automatically wrote him off as a future bullpen piece going into the year last year because of the injury and whatnot. And then, boom, was a starter and was pretty darn effective. I still do think that because he's so like fastball slider first oriented, that his mix makes a lot of sense out of the pen. And I also think that like it just seems to be injury after injury. And so I think the writing is somewhat on the wall with Faedo to maybe become a long-term reliever. But I also think, again, that they like having starting pitching depth. And maybe he's the Toledo guy. I know I didn't really answer your question. I just kind of laid out the argument for all of them. But I do think that a lot of it's going to come down to spring and then like their long-term outlook of all of these dudes. I think they want to kind of hone that in early, but undoubtedly some of them will go to probably two of them, dare I say, will go to Toledo. At least one of them, though, for sure. Next up from AJ Armento, we have when do you see the Tigers being competitive again? And you could probably tie this in with the first question, but do you think the Tigers could get to the World Series in 2029, or are we still years away from it? Well, 2029, if that's what you meant to type, is still years away from right now. I think I hope so. That's really the answer to this one. I really hope so. I I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. Who knows if this is going to work out? I think I'm excited about the future. I like Scott Harris a lot. I'm excited about what he could put together. I think we're a far ways away from me just like kind of blindly being like, I 100% believe in this, but I like what he's done so far, even if a lot of people are still upset with the offseason. Um, And I think that if I had a crystal ball right now that told me, hey, you're not going to make the World Series in the 20s, I think I would be very upset, and I would obviously no longer be a, I guess you would say, believer in Harris's plan or whatnot. But I mean, I hope so is really just my answer to this one, to be completely honest with you. Next up, we have Jim Springer. So many questions. Are the Tigers trading Erod prior to opening day? If so, what can they expect in return? I think that it's going to be similar to the Soto thing. I really do. But prior to opening day, I think he has the best chance of anyone on the team to get traded before opening day. But I do think that there is still an argument of he didn't pitch very much last year. Let's let him reestablish himself, get some playing time, and then we'll look at moving him at the trade deadline. That's the phrase. So I think that, I don't know, kind of like rock in a hard place. Like, do you wait? Because then if he struggles, then like he doesn't have any value at all. He's definitely opting out. So like, again, at the end of the season. So that's like, it's happening. So you kind of have to trade him in my eyes, but I think he's the most likely to get moved before opening day. I don't know if anything's a guarantee though. There, they'll, if they don't have an offer they like, they'll probably just wait until the season starts and let him reestablish some value. As far as, I also realized that one of the questions earlier, I think from Brian, was who gets in the rotation if Erod is dealt. I think Brisky. I think Brisky is the answer to that one. What can they expect in return? I think that they're going to go young, controllable bats, just like they did with Soto, just like they did with Jimenez. I think that's the name of the game here, especially for an expiring pitcher. Easy slam dunk in my eyes. If Torque hits 200 in April, who is the backup first baseman? This is a question that, again, Cameron asks, kind of alluded to the same thing earlier. I think that it's going to be Nevin and or Scope. I think are the easy options. I don't want to see Jonathan Scope at first base anymore. I'm kind of over it. There's like no point to me. I would rather Torkelson, no matter how bad he struggles, just stays there. Nevin's a little bit different. Like, sure, I guess that's a newer addition. You can go to that. I also think my like sleeper for getting some looks at first base if Torkelson struggles, and hopefully we don't ever have to know if this is true and Torkelson just hits, and this isn't even a conversation in April and May. But I think Matt Vierling might actually get a look at first. He's a tall, athletic dude. They have a lot of outfielders. He'll definitely his priority. He'll get mostly looks in the outfield, but wouldn't shock me if he got some looks at first as well. Next up from Gary, we have why not bring back Daniel Norris? I get the idea of having room for youngsters to prove themselves, but the Tigers lost a lot of talent. I don't have a reason why not to, Gary. I'm going to be honest with you. We've been signing a lot of dudes to minor league deals with invites to spring. I wouldn't mind that at all for Daniel Norris. He was pretty effective for about a month there down the stretch. So don't mind it at all. Nick Morgenstern, I believe, another person that interacts with a lot of my stuff. Sorry if I botched your last name. Just to know, why does this fan base conveniently seem to forget that Austin Meadows is good? I know absolutely everything that could have gone wrong last year went wrong, but he's good. I agree. Completely agree. Real question. Would you trade Erod for any young bat or a specific current need? Kind of touched on this earlier already. Yes, I think I wouldn't do like it needs to be a third baseman. There's way too much variance in that, and there's way too many players that can play multiple positions these days. So I wouldn't just hone in on like it needs to be this position exactly, but 100%. I would not. I don't need another like young, controllable depth pitcher. I don't. I need people that can hit the baseball coming off of one of the worst offensive seasons in the live ball era. So yes, definitely a bat, but I really don't care what position. I don't think we're really in the business to be turning away people that can hit just because we might have somebody else that can hit there. Organizational depth matters. The Dodgers have a machine. It's next man up mentality, right? Don't really care about what position they play specifically. Okay, last question from Connor on Twitter. Which prospect in the system do you feel will have the biggest impact in 2023? This is a great question. I love this because it's not like, rank prospects or whatever and whatnot. Which again has been like the cause of controversy in this fan base over the last week or so. It's just biggest impact. There's also that's like so open to interpretation, which I also love. There's three people that pop into my head for this question, and then we'll end the show. Wilmer Flores is one. I think that he is going to have the biggest rise within the organization. He will probably start off in AAA, but he might start off in AA even. But I would imagine he'd start off in AAA, and I think by the end of the season, he could be either in the bullpen at the major league level or even getting some starts down the stretch. Okay. So that's somebody that I think could have the biggest like change in impact from opening day to game 162. I also think Justin Henry Malloy is absolutely going to get a legitimate look this season. If it's not in the first half of the year, he will 100%, I can almost guarantee you, be on the major league roster after the trade deadline if he's healthy. Lastly, I have Brendan White, friend of the program, Brendan White. He was on the show. We did an interview with him probably over a month ago now. Golly, time flies. But I think that he is somebody that is very overlooked right now on like young minor league talent that could make. I wouldn't be surprised if Brendan White made the team out of camp and was like on the bullpen on opening day. I really do like his stuff. I really like his profile. I think he fits what this team's identity is trying to be. I really like Brendan White to have a huge impact and kind of put his name on the map this offseason when a lot of people maybe don't expect him to. I cannot wait for spring training so that just everyone, you have like 60 dudes all fighting for 26 spots. I cannot wait for spring training, man. I really can't. I can't wait for opening day either. I think that's pretty much it. I also love Andre Lipsius. It would not shock me at all if Lipsius he's also a third baseman. Again, like you could see like 6 or 7 dudes play third base this year. And so it wouldn't surprise me. They might give Lipsius a look at second as well. He's another dude I'm a big fan of, draws a lot of walks, fits the bill of the organization as well. So yeah, that's I guess another one. But those three mainly, I think, are the ones that I expect to have the quote unquote biggest impact. Okay, that's it. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. For your next listen, check on Locked On MLB Prospects. Host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia. He's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast. Under 40, barely. We got to end quick, but under 40, I'm happy with it. I'll take it. Thank you for all the questions. We will be back on Wednesday, hopefully with some news to talk about. Pitchers and catchers right around the corner, baby. I'm pumped. Can't wait. Even now, even with everything we've gone through the last 6 or 7 years, I'll still be there, man. I can't wait. Cannot wait. All right. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch y'all on Wednesday, baby. Go Tigers.